What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. Before I begin, I want to say thank you to my friends, family, neighbors, YouTube supporters, subscribers, eBay customers, one and all. You are all absolutely amazing people. Thank you so much, everybody. The channel continues to grow, and that's because of all of you. So if you like what you see and you enjoy the content, if you're new to the channel, you could do me a huge favor by subscribing to help the channel to grow even further. Smash that like button, comment in the comments section below, and hit the bell to receive notifications. I do have an eBay store called the Carolina Collector 001. The link is in the description box below if you're interested in baseball cards and various other items that I sell from time to time. It really helps the channel that way financially. And if you want to donate to the channel, click on my coffee link. That link is also in every video, live stream, and short in the description box. Thank you so much, everybody. Please bear with me if you can't tell. I am very tired. I'm pushing myself to make this video. It is currently almost 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, August 20th. Last night, I committed myself to an experiment. As many of you already know in the Transformers world, if you're fans of collecting or if you're fans of the cartoons, this Starscream has been a huge point of contention because Hasbro essentially dropped the ball. They made this into a Target exclusive. So they were selling this through Target. I got mine through Hasbro Pulse when the link went up. The link immediately was gone. Recently, we've been seeing links through Big Bad Toy Store where Takara are selling their version of Starscream, which is essentially the same thing, just a different box, I'm going to assume. But they are charging about $20 more plus shipping and tariffs. If that thing is coming from Japan, you're going to end up paying a lot more than what you would for this. But last night, or yesterday I should say, or late in the evening all the way up until almost maybe 10 o'clock at night, I committed myself to a bit of an experiment to see if I can find one of these out in the wild. Now obviously I'm holding one in my hand here, and again, please forgive me, I am tired, I'm in a little bit of pain, and I am sore because I drove all over North and South Carolina and hit 6 different targets, and that's going to be relevant in this discussion, looking to see if I could find one of these closed in box. Obviously the answer is no. And I went to some out of the way targets. I went right around here where I live, and I had no luck. Let's put it that way. I had no luck. It was a fun live stream, but unfortunately, as my luck would have it, I could not find one of these out in the wild. And that's going to be relevant for this discussion because, you know, I'm looking at this from the side of the collector. I completely disagree and will admonish, like many of you have, these scalpers that are flipping these. You know, I've already talked about this on the channel, where many people are selling these already right off the shelf, $60, $70, $80, $100. I showed you an example in a recent video for $199, and this individual has 5 of them in their hand. No, I hope nobody's paying that price for a Starscream. But again, Takara released their own version of this Starscream from Japan, and that one is, well, at least from the one link that I saw through Big Bad Toy Store. Big shout out to Super Robot Ed for sharing that on his channel. Go subscribe and check out his channel. And you know, showed an image from Big Bad Toy Store that they were selling the Takara versions for $64.99, and of course the tariff is going to be added to that, plus shipping, plus taxes. It's such a shame that, you know, consumers and collectors and fans of the Transformers IP still can't get them. And there are many debates going on still about this situation. But I decided to commit myself to a bit of an experiment, and of course it yielded no results. Even though it was fun, and I had a lot of viewers who watched that live stream, and I really appreciate you guys and gals that joined in. It was a lot of fun. But it revealed a lot of things to me, and actually I sympathize with the fan base much more. I sympathize with the collector base much more. And I'm saying this as an eBay seller. I don't resell cards. I'm not a scalper. I'm not a flipper in that way, at least not in the traditional sense where you're immediately taking an item off the shelf and flipping it on eBay, trying to get 10, 20 times more for these items and what they're really truly valued for. You know, the value is in the eye of the owner of this thing. You know, it's valuable to me as a part of my collection. And if a better Starscream comes along, I'll sell off this guy, like what I've been doing with my current collection, because my collection, like many of your collections, is an ever-evolving monster. And I have a small but modest collection. Many of you got many bots, you know, but my collection is, you know, very targeted and specific. You know, I sold off my War for Cybertron Seekers to get these 3 Seekers, because they are vastly superior. They look just like the cartoon versions of these guys. I mean, they're just incredible. And obviously everybody's clamoring to get these, but because of the screw up between Hasbro and Target, true collectors can't get them. And because true collectors are seeking these out, of course you have the vultures and the parasites and you know, these disgusting human beings taking advantage of this situation. So I committed myself to this experiment. I went to 6 different targets, and it revealed a lot to me why it's so important that if you are able to make the time when these pre-orders, and there's no such thing as a pre-order, thank God for the late great George Carlin to correct our English, your reservation, you're reserving your copy. That's a more accurate term for what this all is. So when you reserve your copy, or when they release these links so that you can reserve your copy, you have to be on your ball. We see this in the sports card hobby, and we see this in the Pokemon hobby. If you watch that live stream, you've seen shelves and shelves and shelves of Pokemon and all kinds of sports cards just cleaned out because of the illusion of being able to flip these cards and resell them immediately for profit. It's awful. It's really awful, folks, that people that really truly want this stuff can't get this stuff. And it revealed something to me. Actually, it revealed a few things to me. You know, I am fully retired, despite and regardless of some people who may not think so, who have tried to personally attack me here on social media, in particular YouTube. You've already seen that paperwork where I've showed my retirement papers from my home union of Plumbers Local Union number 1 in New York City. If you're regular viewers, you know my whole backstory about that. I'm not going to bore you, and plus I'm not going to waste time with that story. But I am fully retired, so I got the whole day to sit back. So when these links go out, I'm able to jump on them immediately because I have the free time to do it. And that's how I was able to get this, through Hasbro Pulse, excuse me. But there are people who are working people who are out there working jobs very early in the morning or late at night, or whenever these links are posted through Hasbro Pulse, Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, etc., etc. And you simply just don't have the time to sit there and put in your reservation or to reserve your copy of the Starscream. And I sympathize with that. And it's disappointing to those type of collectors, because you're breaking your ass working night and day to make money and to pay your bills, and you just want a little bit of escapism in the form of a plastic toy or a collectible or a fidget spinner or a statue or whatever you want to label it. But if you're a fan of the Transformers IP, or specifically of G1, you want this guy, and he's one of the top characters that us fans are clamoring over. You have to have Megatron, Soundwave, and Starscream. That's just the way it is when it comes to the Decepticons. Kirk, Spock, McCoy, the Three Stooges, you know, the Three Musketeers, you know what I mean? Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, arguably Wheeljack, arguably Ironhide. You know, the 3 main characters in every story. But, you know, you got a lot of working people out there that simply don't have the time to sit there and be ready for this to happen. We see this in the sports card hobby. As soon as hobby boxes and jumbo boxes are released, they're gone instantly, because people are sitting there, you know, because these are people that do it now for a living. You know, the traditional collector doesn't exist. Everything now is about making profit. You know, as an eBay seller, you know, I mean, I'm not going to pretend, you know, a big chunk of my bread and butter is the breaking and ripping of boxes, but I do it on my own. I don't pay some other asshole to do what I am capable of. Obviously, I have 2 hands. You know, I can open up my own packs and boxes myself and keep what I want and sell what I want. But because of the way the hobby's been and the way some of these players have been failing, you know, if you're sitting on like a Paul Skeens right now, this season has been awful. His cards are going to be in the tank. Anthony Richardson is another example of that. His cards were in the tank. You know, CJ Stroud, his cards ended up in the tank. You know, holding on to these cards and you know, holding on to them for investing and speculation. It's all bullshit, folks. You know, and people are gobbling this stuff up because they think, feel, and believe that they're gonna make a living on this stuff. The only way you're gonna make a living on this stuff if you're like the Jeff Wilson types or the usual YouTube talking heads here. There's several content creators because they put so much of their money into the sports card and Pokemon hobbies that they have to constantly, you know, falsely inflate the importance of pictures of men and yellow rabbits. But in the hobby of Transformers, you don't really see that. I mean, you don't see that. That's why in sneaker collecting died. I wear all my shoes. You know what I mean? There's only maybe one or two pairs. I talked about this on the channel, the Travis Scott Air Jordan 4 retros, because they're so messed up and so fragile and so screwed up that the midsoles are starting to crack on them. But they suck to begin with anyway. But those sneakers are being flipped for $1,000 or more at one time. It's awful. Nothing is sacred anymore. You know, and you got these low-life dirtbag, you know, behind the dumpster, out of the, you know, trunk of their car, trench coat jackasses are the ones that go into Target and, you know, scooping up armfuls of this shit. You know, it's disgusting. These people, well, this is YouTube. I know what I want to say, but I can't say it. But they need their up and comings. Let's just leave it at that. So, with all that being said, you know, the collector that wants to get this stuff, that has hard earned, that's earned their money the hard way, you know, and work a job, or somebody like myself that makes income right out of my own home, selling my old stuff and old jerseys and shirts and old collectibles, or whatever it is. You know, this channel's not monetized. You know, I'm on a fixed income, so whatever money I get. And some of that I spend on the things that I review here: jerseys, hats, sneakers, Transformers toys. You know, I do it all on my own, thanks to all of you, you know, for supporting my eBay store and the channel. But, you know, I look at it like this. It's like, you know, if there's something that I really want to get my hands on, and I'm not able to do it, if I'm not able to wake up in time, let's just say, to click on these links when they go out, I would never have gotten Starscream. It happened with me in 2024 when Topps Chrome came out, when the Paul Skeens 1-of-1 patch auto was being chased. Obviously, some kid opened it up months and months and months later out of a pack or a mega box or whatever it was he opened it out of. Dick's Sporting Goods bought it for, you know, millions of dollars. Paul Skeens has had an awful season, so I'm sure they're quite thrilled that they are losing money on that card. The family that sold the card, I'm sure that they're happy as hell, dancing around because they got a nice payday, but Dick's is probably pissed off, and I would be too. That's why you don't invest in these things. Or speculate. It's bullshit, folks. But with that being said, you know, you're somebody who works hard, you want escapism. You can't get this stuff. You're out there working, so you don't have the time to go on your phone and call up these links on your phone, unfortunately. And then there are people, unfortunately, you know, I'm lucky. You know, for right now, at least in this point in my life, I'm financially stable. And I have a car. I have my own car. I own my own car, so I can get up and drive and go see. That's why I did all of this. But there are people out there that don't have vehicles. What do? If you can't order it online and you don't have a car to drive to Target, what else can you do? Some people don't have public transportation. Let me tell you, some of the small towns I went around in yesterday between North and South Carolina, there's no public transportation. You're effed in the A. You have to depend on Uber or Lyft. And most people don't have that kind of money to spend on Uber or Lyft. So you're trapped. Or maybe you have a friend that has a car, but they're busy, so you're not able to get out. There are no subways here. Here in Charlotte, we have the light rail, but, you know, you still have to travel to the light rail because it's only in certain areas you're able to get it. And who knows if those light rails cross the path of a Target out there. What do you do in these situations? You probably don't even have a bicycle to ride a bike to go get this. I'm being serious now. And then you may not even have a Target in your area, so you're completely screwed and have no choice. And out of that kind of desperation, which is kind of sad to say because these are toys, but you know, there are people that want this stuff. And after everything that I just said right now, you're pretty much fresh out of luck. You've ran out of any option that you had left, and you're forced to either wait until Hasbro corrects this oversight, or like what most people have been saying, especially on Facebook and some of the Facebook groups, that, well, the knockoffs are out there. There's already a Thundercracker knockoff that's been making the rounds. I'm sure they're going to make a Starscream, and they're going to make a Skywarp. They're going to have to do all three Seekers. They've already showed off the third-party Thundercracker, the knockoff of the Studio Series. So there's a little hope in that. But then you have people that want the genuine article. They don't want a third party. You know, especially a lot of these third parties have quality control issues, a lot of QC issues involved. Even though they do have a lot of improvements, because I've seen the videos of Studio Series Thundercracker where he's got the gap filler when you transform him into his alt mode. There's a huge gap when he's in his jet mode, so they have a gap filler for that. They have gap fillers because, as you can see here on my copy of Starscream, there are gaps right there that they have gap fillers for. There's landing gear for his feet, and his null rays, or the ion blasters for Thundercracker, whatever, they turn into the G1 missiles, the counterparts to these. You know, so there are several improvements that the third-party people are making, which is great. Most of the third-party companies that are out there, they're always throwing in bells and whistles that Hasbro didn't even consider. And collectors appreciate that sort of thing. And it's forced a lot of collectors to divert towards third-party figures and knockoffs. And in this particular situation, I've been seeing the same thing. Well, if you can't get one of these, you're going to probably have to depend on waiting for the knockoffs of these to get into circulation. Because nobody in their right mind should be paying $199. And now that this situation has gone this far, where Big Bad Toy Store are releasing, and the pre-orders, I hate that term, pre-order, the reservation links for the Takara Starscream sold out. So they're not going to be released until the fourth quarter, what they were saying. That's October, November, and December at the end of this year. Sometime around the holidays. And that's unfortunate because now you couldn't get the original release of this guy. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Big Bad Toy Store and other outlets like that, or websites, are releasing the Japanese Takara version of this thing. They sell out like that, so now you're screwed. And let's just say if you did order your copy, you still have to wait even more. It's a very frustrating and annoying situation, folks. I don't have the answers to any of this. You know, I'm looking at this again as a collector, and doing that experiment like I did last night, live streaming for my audience. It was close to 5 hours or something like that, 4 or 5 hours, as far as jumping around 6 different targets between North Carolina and South Carolina, where I live. Really opened up my eyes to the difficulties of trying to get this stuff, in particular that Starscream. And that goes for Pokemon cards, because I showed empty shelves of Pokemon cards, gone. Sports cards, gone. Other collectibles, gone. Wrestlers, gone. Because they're all being flipped and scalped. And it's not by collector, it's not collectors getting that stuff, it's people that are reselling. The true trash of this depraved republic that we live in, the vultures and the opportunists out there taking advantage of you. Sometimes, you know, patience is a virtue. Just wait. And if they do come out with knockoffs with these, I'm actually quite curious. I might, if they do release a Starscream, if they haven't done the Starscream by now, I might get a knockoff copy of this guy just to see what it's like. But in the meantime, again, I don't have the answers. I'm not the end-all, be-all of the Transformers hobby. But again, doing that experiment like I did, going back and forth to 6 different targets in 2 different states, because I live right on the border of North and South Carolina, so there's stores and mini malls and strip malls all over the place. I had no luck. I tried. But imagine if you're not me and you don't have a car, you have no means of transportation, if you don't have a target, If you're not able to jump on the internet to click on these links when they release these figures, you're screwed. What do you do? Again, I don't have the answers, folks. The only thing I can say is good luck, man. As a fellow collector, I wish you the best, man. And I hope, to those that haven't got one of these yet, I hope you do. I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. God bless everybody. Take care.